supposed to look there.
Just look at me.
Okay.
Look back. I'll just look there if I could. It's to the end and to end. Welcome to In the Zone. I'm Craig Zimmerman, and our next guest, number 16, is a St. Clair, a new position. He was the assistant principal and athletic director in Rain City, and now he's been just elevated to the head man principal at St. Clair High School, Dave Mroue. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Dave, we've known each other for, I don't know, half a dozen years. How many years were you in Rain City?
So this is my 5th year here.
Okay.
I was in Port Huron Northern for 1 prior and then here for 5.
Okay. So where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Sterling Heights. I attended Stevenson High School, went on to Oakland University for my undergrad, and kind of have been at Oakland through all my advanced degrees as well. So I've kind of been in this side of the world most of my life.
So what high school did you go to?
Stevenson.
So Sterling Heights, Stevenson,
Sterling
big
Heights,
high
yeah.
school.
Very big.
Which I'm guessing they're in maybe the 2,400 students, maybe?
Yeah, so it's a 912 building. So
Okay.
classes 500 to 600 apiece, so
Okay.
just under 2,000 probably.
Okay. Siblings?
I have 1 sister, and I have 4 step siblings.
Okay. They all live in Metro Detroit?
Everybody's local.
Okay. Any other teachers in the family?
No, I'm the lone soul.
Okay. So you went to Oakland University.
I did.
Did you commute?
I did.
Okay. Because that was quite common.
Correct.
Seems like lately Oakland University is getting more people on campus.
They are.
With housing and stuff.
It's come a long way
Yeah.
since the 2000.
Okay. Your family, wife, children?
Yep. So my wife Valerie and I both attended high school together, and so we graduated in 2000 from high school. My wife went on to start her own massage business, which she did for about 18 years, and has since transitioned to real estate. So she is a realtor in the area, and then we have 2 children. My daughter Aaliyah will be 12 next month. She is in 6th grade. And then my son is 8, and he is going to be going into the 4th grade.
Oh, so there's never a dull moment at your household.
Never a dull moment.
Into soccer or baseball or both? Or
So soccer right now, but already talking about baseball for next summer. It's
Okay.
funny that you say. You
Right.
know, he's already talking about wanting to do the Macomb Township Little League with some of his
Okay.
buddies as well. So we're kind of balancing our travel soccer has come into full effect, and I'm getting a taste of travel sports. It's busy.
It's gotten to new elevations of,
That it has.
Yeah. So the kids will be playing, like you say, soccer, maybe baseball. Fall, will they be playing soccer or what?
So he plays indoors, so
Okay.
it's pretty much all year round. But it's pretty reasonable. It's just everything local at his age, which is super nice. We only do 2 tournaments a year, 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall.
Okay.
So of course the kids want to know, when are we going to Kalahari?
Right.
For the most part, it's all local. So it's literally 5 minutes from my house. We built the new Premier right next to the Imagine, and
Okay.
the new Kroger's out in Macomb, and so it's
So
really convenient.
if you stay put where you're living now, what high school will they go to?
Dakota.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, you're in Dakota.
Which is
Province.
another mega school, if you will, for size.
It's a big school.
Is that area there, if you're on the west side of the street, you go to one of the Sterling Heights schools or Utica schools?
Yeah. So in my subdivision,
Okay.
we live on the main street that goes down, and so if you go past our main street, they're at Henry Ford.
Okay.
And they go to Utica.
I figured it was. That area of town is,
It's crazy.
you can almost have
And it
3.
changes by the subdivision, so the line is not straight.
Okay.
It's
That's
zigzags.
interesting.
It's very interesting. Hard for friendships because you meet people,
Right.
obviously, and then you don't know where you're going to see them again.
Okay. Now, at what point would you guess to say that you decided you wanted to be a teacher and get into education?
So I was actually, my sister is 4 years younger than me, so I was actually pre-med was kind of my niche. I was a math science guy, and I had set on going that route. And so my sister was younger than me, and I started tutoring through NHS, and so it just became my kind of side thing that I did while I was starting college. And then I started tutoring at my junior high where my sister was at that point. And it just was something that I kept doing, and as I kind of got through my first year of school, and it just gave me that different every day is different.
Sure.
And I very much look for those challenges. And so for me, I was in the very early stages of what would be, biology and high-level science classes. There was nothing crazy yet, but began to realize that, teaching and making a difference with kids was kind of where, especially with some of the more difficult, challenging kids, that I wanted to be. So first year, I made that drastic shift
Okay.
at Oakland. And Oakland's a great teaching school, so it was a good place to be. It was also great, it has a good science background
Sure.
and everything. So.
Now, did you start your teaching at South Lake?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I got through the program in just over 3 years at Oakland and went into my student teaching and finished that up in April. And we had a job fair for just an opportunity to meet with schools.
Right.
And it happened to be the year 2004 when we had a huge exodus of teachers. So it was great timing on my aspect of having some great openings, but it was actually at the job fair I was offered a job Memorial weekend.
Oh, okay.
And so, there were more options I'm sure that would have come, but I stayed with the first commitment, and it was where I spent 12 years.
And what did you teach there?
So I was a middle school math and science teacher.
Okay. And you met one of our other cohorts, Sherry Becker, down there.
I did.
And
Yeah.
what was Sherry teaching at that point?
So Sherry was a 7th and 8th grade language arts and social studies teacher. And so when I joined the staff, Sherry and I were she was moved up just to 8th grade, and so we were on a team together.
Okay.
And kind of back in the day here too, we had this teaming concept where we had different groups of kids and they were kind of in a pod.
Sure.
In a cohort, and they would go through. So we were on an 8th grade team together. And over our course working together, she and I balanced each other well because she's got the science, I have the math and science, and she has English history. And so
Sure.
it was always a good team because we paired well with our strengths. So.
Okay. And so you taught with her at South Lake. She comes to Moraine City to be the principal.
So back up one step. So
okay.
she came back to St. Clair Middle with Mike Alley to be assistant dean of students at St. Clair Middle. I stayed in South Lake for that year. I was actually in my leadership training at that point. So that year was my internship year at South Lake. And she was there, and then I stayed for 1 year, and then I took a role as an interim at Port Huron Northern.
Okay.
After that year, she then took the role at Marine City High School. I was slated in to take a position at Port Huron and decided that, we wanted to get back. And,
Okay.
So I interviewed for the role as her assistant, and that's where I've been.
Okay. And so now we bring you to current status of just recently being named the new St. Clair High School principal. And obviously, you know a fair amount of the teachers, maybe just from getting together at functions of, things with school.
Right.
But, it's like anything. Every year there's probably a little changes. A couple retire, a couple move different spots. Do you have many spots to fill at St. Clair High School?
So we've pretty much filled everything internally thus far that we know about.
Sure.
So we haven't really had to hire any teachers, but again, things always happen over the summer,
Right.
so you never know.
Yep.
But overall, right now, we're in a pretty good place with staffing. We had, people that moved around a little bit, but nobody that we had, tough to fill positions. We've been very fortunate. All of our itinerants and special education and social worker positions at this point, we're doing pretty good job. I think some of the other levels, there might be some other
Sure.
positions that HR is still working to fill, but St. Clair High School, we're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Now, doing a scenario going from assistant principal to principal, you obviously have a good idea of what the day looks like and what's what. What do you think is the biggest thing you'll look at differently?
So I think for me, my important as I make this transition for me is, and Sherry and I talked about this all the time, is when you're in the principal role, sometimes there's so much behind the scenes that has to happen, and you try to do whatever you can to make sure you're still centered around kids.
Mm-hmm.
When I, got the position and announced the position, and staff, it wasn't a big issue, but it's been
Sure.
it's been tough with the kids. I have my seniors that I graduated with,
Sure.
but there's still some underclassmen that I have some good relationships and form good bonds with, and so that's the hardest part is making sure that you still stay student-centered.
Sure.
And so for me, I think that's going to be the biggest change is, the principal role sometimes, there's so much behind the scenes things that, the assistant gets to deal with
Sure.
the students a little bit more directly. So for me, that's going to be the biggest change, but change is good.
Sure.
I'm excited, and I think, it's all about finding ways to get out. We have outstanding sports teams at
Yep.
both high schools, and so, what I might miss during the day in a class, I can catch up
Pick up at night.
at
Basketball
an
game, a
event.
football game.
And my kids love, I had to get some new attire, but my kids love coming down. I know everyone always asks, is it tough when you're coming from Macomb, but it truly is not that far. And my family, just everyone kind of embraces it. So it's kind of a, Friday nights, the whole
Right.
fam comes up, and we
Football.
grab dinner and we go to football games, and basketball, same thing in the winter. So it truly is, you can do other things to
Right.
stay close and centered with the kids. But
I've often said too, it's like, yes, there are, you can count on, say, a Marine City as St. Clair being an arch rival, but when the kids graduate and do other things, you notice that they meld together, and now it's not so much they or those people, it's they're all in the same scenario. After graduation, you'll notice that, these 6 Marine City kids will hang out with these 4 St. Clair kids, and now it's just the real world.
college, I see it a lot at college, the roommates.
Yeah.
Our kids room together, they're in sororities and fraternities together, so they're very close-knit community, as much like you said. The rivalry is there,
Right.
but it's as soon as the game's over, they're hugging each other and
Right.
cheering each other on. It's a pretty cool, to have both.
So you got your black attire that's going to the back of the closet.
It's not leaving, it's
Right,
still there.
Still there. Got to have it. You never know. Like
No.
you said, Friday nights when Marine City's not playing
You're
St.
right.
Clair, you may use it.
Once we get out of league play,
Right.
and we're going on to, we're Division 4, Division 5, or
Yep.
how it shakes out over the years.
Yep.
Those could change here or there depending on our population, but I can root for both. That's what's kind of nice once you get out of league play.
Yep. Besides Sherry Becker, obviously, what other mentors did you have?
So for me, I had a really strong support system in South Lake. It was a great place. It's definitely a diverse, set of schools down at the south end of Macomb, and we talk about it all the time. The skills and the things that we were trained and just got from our experiences. I had several just amazing mentors. Carmen Kennedy was a high school principal that just, I worked under, and Lauren Wells and Michael Bruce, just really, really supportive, helped me find kind of my niche, which kind of is a blend, when you
Sure.
have your mentors and you work with different administrators over your time. I came in on a really
Pick little
strong,
pieces.
Yep, a little bit
Yep.
of each. I started with a strong, when I was just a new teacher and not necessarily in a leadership role, but started with Richard Narsigian, who was our first principal at South Lake when I started. And just, you see that culture and truly a collaborative experience where you bring everyone together and balance everyone's strengths and weaknesses. So I really did have a really strong group of mentors at South Lake and have continued. I left to go to Northern, worked with Chip Mossett and Lisa Duman and Jason Kasparian at Northern. While Ethan was off kind of on a interim basis as well. So I kind of filled in for Ethan for a year, and working with that team was absolutely outstanding. Chip Mossett taught me a great deal, and just working with Jason, and Jason also was a South Lake teacher administrator as well. So I had a great rapport with Jason, and so working with Jason was great, and then Sherry and I, it was, we've worked together a really long time, and we definitely work well together. And so what's even more exciting now as I'm moving into this role is to still get to work with
Sure.
Sherry closely, and Suzanne has been amazing. Don Demick, it's truly our admin team, that we have, that I've been with now 5 years, is outstanding. We are sad to see Ron and Sandy, move on to
Yep.
retirement, but super excited. But working with Ron and Sandy over the past few years, there's, like you said, there's things,
Oh, sure.
you just learn from so many different avenues. And Suzanne is great at supporting all of us and, truly giving us anything we need to further ourselves professionally. So having a superintendent that supports and, doesn't just, hand out
Sure.
things. It's not just like a top-down, which is pretty exciting here. We truly support each other and work through things together collaboratively.
What I've noticed from a layman's point of view, from the outside looking in, is that it seems as though a high school is held together tightly by its athletic programs, as well as the drama program, cheerleading, because it encompasses so many of the kids. Probably if you took those three, it's probably better than half the population of the school.
Correct.
They rally around it, and when you look at, I've often said too, St. Clair, Marine City, while they're arch rivals, sometimes you have a case where one is dominant in a particular sport, but then another sport, the other is dominant.
Correct.
St. Clair, over the years, better or worse, has been a basketball high school. Has done a heck of a job over the years, and they've got good youthful coaches involved. So from the aspect of like the camaraderie, those athletics play a huge role, I would think, as an administrator, right? The culture?
Yeah, definitely. The band and the fine arts
Band too, yeah.
paired with the football and cheerleading, you're right. When we took band and our cheer away for COVID
Right.
and our fans, it
Just wasn't the same.
It just wasn't the same. And
Right.
so all of those pieces do fit together. And, whether, like you said, that everyone has good years and bad years, and it really doesn't matter whether they go out and win or lose each week. It's having those programs and that camaraderie. It's part of the reason why I knew once I was at Northern for a year that I wanted to stay at a high school setting. Was while yes, the nights can be grueling and
Right.
long, you don't see those types of events and feel that on Friday nights like
Sure.
you do in the high school. So that's where I found my niche. It's something to be said about a Friday night basketball game,
Right.
a Friday night football game, and same thing in the spring, going to baseball and
Yeah.
softball. Tournaments and going to district games. It's something to be said, and the kids are all coming out, and parents. It's pretty special that high school it gets to experience that.
I think it was Matt Disselrath that told me that the league this coming year for basketball is going to be like the old St. Clair Area League. It's going to be, I think, one of the Port Huron teams or both?
Just one.
Well, yeah.
Port Huron, PH, I believe.
Yeah, Port Huron, Marysville, St. Clair, Marine City,
and then
maybe
there's a couple.
Madison, I think.
Yeah.
But just like I've often said over the years, when you have a Marysville, a St. Clair, a Marine City, even in Algonac for that matter, you fill up the stands, it's more exciting to watch.
You do.
The old MAC, when you bring up Warren Lincoln and there's 12 people on the other sidelines, it's not too exciting, so.
It's hard because you have to balance
Yeah.
the MAC's ability to provide competitive
Yep.
competition with the distance, and it's
Right. Well, and then the other thing too, I've been told, is in some cases, swimming or diving plays into it, and
tennis, cross country.
Yeah, and some of the smaller schools to the north, maybe that we would want to play, don't have those. So, if you're in that league, but you don't have these three sports, how do you fill them?
Right.
So,
Yeah, St.
very
Clair
interesting.
lacrosse,
Yeah.
wrestling. Those are tough. Yeah.
Yep.
Truly it's sport by sport. There's some. Madison's going to be the outlier.
Right.
They're going to have to come
Up.
north a lot.
Yep.
But every year you're going to have
some of that.
some of that in one of the sports.
Exactly. Any defining moments the last couple of years in your position as assistant principal at Marine City High?
Aside from having this opportunity come about, for me, being at Ford Field this year was
Sure.
definitely, outstanding opportunity. Getting to work with our football coaching staff and just getting to work with all of our coaches, to me, has been an opportunity to grow for me professionally. It was definitely an area, I came in instruction and some of those things, but the athletics was an area that, I came in and had to, learn a lot about, just running an athletic program as big as
Yeah.
ours. It was a pretty big.
Yeah, because you were the guy.
Right, the one and only. And so to come in and have to, step into those shoes, and, Chris was great helping transition and working with Sandy has been outstanding. But, really to me, just COVID it's been a rough few years. And I feel like we've accomplished a lot as an administrative team. People don't often see what happened
behind the scenes of all that.
behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
so the fact that we're on the other side of it, and that we got the bond coming, and there's
Right.
just, every obstacle that we come across, is also then paired with something exciting with the bond.
Sure.
There's so many opportunities that are coming forth for our kids. And so for me, it's super exciting to be stepping in this new role as we start beginning all the plans for St. Clair High School, which our kids are going to just, there's so many great things coming. So it's very exciting.
Which leads me to one more thing, is that you as well as Sherry will have a huge role in the new program, and I can't remember, the
Innovation Center.
Innovation Center.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
It's so huge. So unfortunately, you know, we are a small district, and so the two high schools, there's just classes that, you know, both ends sometimes struggle. And also some outside the box things that we're hoping to bring in to give our kids new opportunities as well. But so you pair the classes that both ends maybe don't have enough kids for with other programs, you know, that we may, you know, be able to pull together from community support to offer to both ends. So, you know, it's not going to take away anything from either high school. All it's going to do is offer more options for kids, classes that aren't getting run every year, you know, things that our kids kind of, I mean, they find them, they take them eventually. It's, you know, we rotate classes sometimes, and, you know, we find ways to creatively get them the things they need, but Innovation Center is going to provide us the opportunity to get kids to a central place where they can take that course that maybe they would have had to wait another year to take. So it's going to open up some doors, and it's going to be great for just professional development and community things. The Early Childhood Center, you know, I don't think a lot of people totally understand, but, you know, my kids all went to an Early Childhood Center in Chippewa Valley schools, and, you know, once you go places, you tend to stay. And so sometimes when we didn't have that, you know, our parents would stay in Algonac, stay in Marysville. So this will provide our community with a place for early childhood, which every district really should have. And
when you say that, are we going from zero early childhood to a new program?
So we have some programs in place with like preschool and you know, some of the government programs that, you know, all the schools, Great Starts and you know, type of programming. But what we didn't have is a set preschool that was housed, you know, that would kind of feed into your elementary school. So it's just expanding. We do have, you know, small pieces. Right now it's difficult with the building being closed. You know, some of those services currently aren't functioning, but what that does is you provide daycare, you provide then 3-year-old preschool, 4-year, you know, different preschool programs, and so it opens up opportunities. So we do have a little bit now, but it's just going to further expand and allow us to attract hopefully more students to our community.
And as we know, the numbers of both high schools, we need more kids to be, you know, coming in to keep what we have and keep the numbers up. I remember back when Marine City used to have 8 1/4 or so, and I think St. Clair had maybe 1,000 or so. The
current generation is just not having as many kids, so part of that we're seeing everywhere. But the biggest thing is you know, millennials and all of the new generations, they're looking for the newest and the greatest. And while that may not be something everyone agrees with, it's the reality. And so, you know, you have people choosing to go to neighboring places for sometimes the wrong reasons. However, it doesn't change the fact that it's many people's view, the facilities,
I've often said, okay, Marysville, I don't know the numbers, but if you take the fact that they have a brand new school, well, probably 5, 6-year-olds now, coupled with the new sports facilities because they redid them, I'll bet they get a good handful of people out of the north end that would normally go to Port Huron just because of that. So hopefully we can take advantage of that too.
That's what we're hoping. We're gonna have the greatest and best. We really do have a lot to offer, and so, you know, this was a piece that sometimes maybe would be lacking if you were touring, you know, the facilities. They still were well kept. You know, we have staff that have worked in this district a long time, and when I got to Marine City, I was just blown away by how well our community, how well our custodians are, you know, our employees have maintained.
Took ownership.
I mean, our facilities they look great, but we're going to make them better.
I agree.
Make them better. So
well, thanks for coming to Channel 6.
It's been my pleasure.
We look forward to having you back after you've got some months on the job and you can tell us the pros and the cons of what's going on at St. Clair High School.
I look forward to it.
Okay, thanks. In case you have a scenario where you know somebody you'd like to suggest to come on the program, you see the number there, 586-707-5811, and we will see you next time, CTV 6.